yes. It takes an awful lot for a game to become one of my favorites of all time. Sound and design are always a good thing, but gameplay is the most important thing to me. And way back before I even appreciated the shoot-'em-up genre, there was one game that captivated me more than anything else. A game that I could go back to, play over and over again, and never get sick of it. And that game is UN Squadron for the Super NES. There are so many mechanics at play in this game that no two games seem to be alike. And for any shoot-'em-up, that's a really good thing. But beyond that, this version was even better than the arcade version, which makes it double awesome. Especially when you consider that arcade games at the time far outweighed the Super NES in terms of power and presentation. But again, there's a lot to this game, so we better get into it or you'll be here for a while. Choices, choices, choices. Wow, when it comes down to it, UN Squadron gives you a lot of freaking choice. From the characters you can choose, to the missions you can take on in any order, to the planes that you can buy to take them on, and the weapons for each of those planes, well, you get the idea. This is really a game that's made for everyone, really. There's something here for anybody to use. But let's start with the pilots themselves. Using Shin Kazama will allow you to build up your firepower faster, but your recovery time when you get hit will be slow. Greg Gates has a really fast recovery time when he's hit, but his firepower builds at a very slow rate. And finally, right in the middle is Mickey Simon. Players looking for the greatest challenge should use him. And now for the real stars of the shows, the planes themselves. There are a total of 6 different planes available in UN Squadron, but you'll have to buy them in order to use them. Throughout the game, you'll earn money for completing missions and destroying enemies. And this money can be used to purchase new aircraft. In addition, any unused weapons that you have through the level that you've just played will also be refunded to you. It typically takes about 3 levels to buy your first plane, and this does seem to be a complaint among most players of UN Squadron, that money is fairly scarce. But for those with the patience for it, you can take out the random quartermaster cores that appear on the map for a decent amount. A skilled player can complete this timed bonus sequence in just one pass. So really, it's not much of a big deal. Just make sure you've got enough left over to arm the plane you've got. All of your weapons cost money as well. Each of these planes has its strengths and weaknesses. Some are better at air-to-air combat, while others are suited for air-to-ground. The A-10, for example, is really only useful in the forest stage, whereas the F-14, with its powerful forward-facing weapons and high mobility, is better for airborne stages and some of the tougher bosses. But if you don't mind not having fancy weapons, the F-8 Crusader can get you through most, if not all, of the game. But to do that, you'd have to have some serious skill. Knowing which stage each aircraft performs best in will make the game much easier for the player, even if it does require a lot of experimentation. But isn't that one of the greatest points of this game? The stage diversity in UN Squadron is also one of its greatest strengths. Each stage feels different from the last, and requires a bit of tactical thinking, especially when you're buying new planes. Whether it's taking out a nuclear submarine, a squadron of mercenaries, or a giant B-2 bomber, every single stage is just tremendously fun to go through. And with excellent control, it never really feels like the odds are stacked against you. I'd say it's just right. As stated before, UN Squadron surpasses its arcade counterpart in many ways. Its presentation is definitely one of its strongest points. Thanks to the Super Nintendo's amazing sound chip, the music and sound effects in specific are leaps and bounds ahead of the arcade version. And with the exception of a few missing frames of animation, the visuals hold up extremely well. The character design is also a cut above, with good reason. UN Squadron is based on an anime from the 1980s called a.k.a. So it's no small wonder that the character design is top-notch. Of course, Capcom took a lot of creative liberties with this game, making it its own unique entity. So it's about that time, isn't it? Let's see how UN Squadron stacks up. Absolutely nothing holds this game back. The control is fantastic and not a single plane feels sluggish or out of place. With 10 plus stages, you'll be at this game for quite a while, and that's even without having to play the game again. Replayability is a huge factor in this game, with the ability to take on all of these stages in a completely different order with different planes and different pilots. UN Squadron is also challenging, once again with multiple difficulty levels, but has an incredibly smooth learning curve that anyone can adapt to. The visual design is top-notch and the sound quality is incredible, besting the inferior arcade version handily. And all of this, especially the free roam aspect of the game, gives it an incredible ingenuity factor. Thankfully, this incredible game is easy to come by. At auction, you can get the US version, UN Squadron, for as little as $10, and the Japanese version, Area 88, for as little as $5. So when all is said and done, nobody has an excuse not to have this in their collection. For all intents and purposes, UN Squadron is perfect.